Recorded live. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you are listening to the VMware Communities Roundtable podcast. This is podcast number 769. My name is Eric Nilsson, and with me today, I have my alternate co-host, Tony Foster. Bob Plankers is going to join us midway through, but until then, we got Tony. Today is Wednesday, May 20th, 2026. Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Eric?
I'm doing good. We got great weather here. I was in the Toronto VMUG last week, and so happy to be back in the office and not traveling. Had a great time, but good to just get home and relaxed. On this show today, we're going to talk to Shank Mohan. He read a really good blog article on converting vSphere to VCF 9. Everybody has to, deal with that, and especially now that we announced 9.1 and 9.1 is available. If you're a VMUG Advantage member and you got your home lab licenses, you can go to the portal and pick up your new bits if you want to, because they were live when they announced it last week, which is great. But before we get to the show, let's just do a little news. First off, Tony, how's the weather in Kansas City?
The weather is actually awesome. So beginning of the week, we had storms. You probably heard/saw a bunch about tornadoes and stuff moving through, and all of that is cleared out. And we're actually about 10 to 15 degrees below normal right now, temperature-wise. So highs in the upper 60s. It is absolutely beautiful weather here.
Oh, nice. Well, I'll tell you what, it's gotten warm in California. We finally got 81 degrees a couple days ago, and it's nice and warm. So I'm sure that'll be heading across the nation, going from west to east. So maybe you'll get a little bit nicer temperatures if you define nice being warm. But good to hear. In the news, obviously 9.1 dropped, right? So we announced that 2 weeks ago, and then last Tuesday, the bits became available. So if you haven't been paying attention, 9.1 is out there. You can go get it. If you're an Advantage member and you've got your home lab licenses going, you can go get that set up. And obviously today we'll talk about VCF 9, converting vSphere to VCF 9. That's always fun. And maybe this is your chance to do that. Explorer is, the reg is open. Early bird special is out there. I think we talked, you can get it for $1,300 to come to Explorer. There's always cheap hotels. You can stay at the Excalibur, I think it is, for like $29 a night and something like that. If you want the old rooms, $39 if you want the new rooms. But and then there's a train that gets you over to the Venetian, so it's a doable thing. And then Frontier flights and everything. I haven't checked flight prices nowadays because oil prices are up. But my flight to Toronto was expensive. Round trip to Toronto was $1,000. So definitely flight prices are going to be up there. Frontier always has deals into Vegas, so check that out. We are processing all of the content submissions, so submissions are being processed, and I think those announcements will go out in June, right? So pay attention. Sometime in early June, you should start hearing whether you were selected. I know for the community sessions, we've been going through everybody's, and a lot of great sessions this year, better than last year. This year, I think because 9's been out long enough now and everybody's digging into the features, there's a lot of great sessions that are submitted.
That's wonderful. I am glad to hear that.
Yeah. Yep. That some of the fun ones are just ones that people do interesting things. So it's funny because we have the community theater, and this year the community booth is going to be near the community theater. So yeah, looking forward to that. Yep. Kind of missed that last year, but this year it's going to be right next door to it. So that should be fun again. And then some of the fun sessions that we see are just ones where people are doing out of the box stuff, hacking stuff, where we get a lot of submissions where here's VCF 9, here's how you do what you need to do. But the fun ones, see if we get Bob. There he is. Hey. Bob the man. Hey. Yeah, we just started maybe 5 minutes ago. Just finishing up on the news. Nice. Yep.
Sorry,
Good
I'm
to
late.
see you. No worries. I appreciate you can make it. So let's see, going through sessions, a lot of good sessions this year, excited about them. And because community theater is going to be near the community booth, we should have a little more energy like we did in previous years. So excited about that. The hackathon will be going on. We're going to be making some announcements. And we have a vExpert notice going out later today to talk about what you can do as a vExpert to maybe get yourself a badge. We do have some passes that have been allocated to award vExperts that are helping us promote Explore. So stay tuned. That'll go out later today. If you're a vExpert, you should see that mail. And get excited about the show. Hackathon will be happening. Code labs will be happening. Labs will be happening. Certification will be happening. All the good stuff. Excited to be there. And I just got done with Toronto VMUG. Was great. A lot of people there, 250 people were at the event. So it was a nice event, busier than the I don't even remember. Not Montreal, Minneapolis. Yeah. Better than the Minneapolis one, but a lot of community people, a lot of people from Canada all over came in. So remind me a little bit more of Amsterdam, right? That it was like a country event, right? A bunch of Canadians, eh? So fun stuff there. Bob, I don't know if you have any news or anything to add before we get to talk to Shank about his
AI is going to be an apocalypse, clearly. So the cause of and solution to all of life's problems, to bastardize a Homer Simpson quote. But I think Homer Simpson was talking about beer in that case. But so no, I don't know. Yeah, this 9.1 is out. We're shipping new materials. I'm working on the security hardening guide for it right now, in fact. And so exciting times. I like 9.1. It's good. So,
nice.
Yeah. Nice. And so that's
about it. Continuing. The only other news I got him is the vDefend. We've realized the advantage download licensing, the vDefend, the new version of vDefend in 9.1 gets its license differently, and it looks to go back to the mothership. So we got a bug report on that, and we're investigating to see, did we miss that? Is that that's a change that we missed, and now we have to figure out how to address that. So apologize to anyone that's out trying to get their vDefend license at Advantage. 9.1 might not work in the license portal. So we have a bug filed on that one. So good. All right, well, that's what I got. Let's get on to Shank. So Shank Mohan, great to have you on the show because we are a community podcast. We always ask, where do you live? Where do you work? To give it a little bit of your career arc, like how did you get where you are today?
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks for having me. I am a pre-sales engineer. I work on solutions for customers. I've been in the IT game for about 12 years, specifically with my current role. I started in professional services, worked my way up to network and security practice lead. Then I moved into pre-sales, and now I work on, just designing as effective solutions for customers as much as possible.
Nice. So you wrote a blog, I believe, converting vSphere to VCF 9, which did well, trended a little bit in the social and on advocacy. So where do you blog? Do you blog on a corporate blog? Do you have your own blog? What's your blogger story?
So I started, it was probably around COVID time, and funnily enough, I started writing blogs first, then I started doing videos on YouTube because it was just easier. So now I do both in conjunction. It depends on what I feel like on the day. I actually wrote a book around COVID time as well, then that sort of got picked up because of my blog, and it's kind of where I've landed. And I've sort of focused on doing the solutioning on YouTube and doing educational sort of tutorials. And I may transpose that into a written blog, or I just do break fix stuff on the written blog side of things.
Nice. So, I don't know if we have to actually transition to like, why did you do a blog on converting vSphere to VCF? I think that's a self-explanatory question, but I guess we'll go there. Like, so you blogged and run into this problem all the time, and what did you put in the article? So why don't you take us through your blog a little bit?
Yeah, so the convert process was actually a video, and the reason I did it was because I was always being asked questions. So I run a pretty decent sized lab, and a lot of people didn't, or at least on my team, didn't have the ability to do so themselves, and they didn't want to do it nested. And they're always asking me about what's the process to get there, aside from reading documentation, the actual live process. And I've had to demo it a couple of times as well. So I spent some time doing the recording, put together a bit of a PowerPoint deck and some steps and prerequisites. And the end goal was to show people how simple it actually was and what's the minimal amount of resources. It's not as big and blown up as people expect it to be. So that way you can actually get to VCF 9. It's not a huge deal. It is possible, and most environments could sustain it as long as you meet hardware compatibility and some basics.
Yeah, in fact, the hardware compatibility is an interesting point, because that's you can skirt a lot of so the VCF installer cares deeply about hardware compatibility, and but if you're inheriting if you're upgrading an existing environment, a vSphere environment, it trusts that you've made good decisions prior to that, and so that's a little bit of a backdoor, isn't it? So
I did not know that. I did not know
Yeah.
that. Interesting. Yeah.
ESX, you can install ESX on whatever, calculator, a garbage can, whatever,
Right,
like ESX is pretty easygoing. It's just the VCF installer does care about what you're running it on. So
yeah.
Okay, so
around, do allow legacy CPUs and all that sort of stuff, so people do what they need to do to get things working, and just need to make sure it's all compatible.
I guess I'll just be a layman here and go like, okay, so I've done VCF fresh installs. I've actually never done an upgrade. Are you telling me I can go install an ESXi or an ESX and then just go do an upgrade and it bypasses the whole hardware compatibility issue? Or
not so much an upgrade. So the convert process is effectively looking at your vCenter, making sure that's the right version. If you've got NSX installed, make sure that's the right version. You plug all that in. If you don't have NSX, it deploys NSX for you as long as vCenter's version 9. And effectively, you lifecycle the hosts after it gets into VCF Ops. So it's not telling you to upgrade it at day dot. So they can be version 8.3, update A, I think it was from memory, and you'll be able to bring that into VCF 9.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Basically being able to 9.1 now too, you can go from 8, vSphere 8, VCF 9, vSphere 9, whatever, into a VCF 9.1 environment directly as well. So
yeah.
How about 7?
No, you got to go to 8. Yeah. So, or 7 is too far back. 6.7 is too far back. I actually had that question. Can I go from 6.7 to 9.1? And yes, you can, but in multiple steps. And at that point, I actually suggested cross vCenter vMotion, where you build a new environment, do a nice fresh install, and then
the options are always either upgrade, import, or greenfield build. And I usually lean to the last, but it depends on the customer's environment.
Yeah, everyone's different. But the import is pretty smooth. I've only done it a couple of times, but I've been impressed with, bringing it in, the importing an old environment, which is kind of what we're talking about here anyhow,
it's pretty quick too. It doesn't take long.
Yeah, as long as you haven't done anything really weird in your vSphere environment, you'll be fine. So
yeah, and stuff like ELM and all that sort of stuff, it's going away, so you might need to break it if you've got it, but it's okay.
Yeah. Or you mean like Update Manager or
yeah,
the baselines. Yeah, those baselines. Yeah, Lifecycle Manager is so much better now anyhow. So
yeah. And then if you're in enhanced link mode, 2 vCenters together, then that needs to go away as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Breaking that Elm, having everything in lockstep. Now the new federated, it's not Elm 2.0. It's what is it? vCenter linking. Now where it's federated, so you can upgrade one of them and you don't have to take them all down and take a snapshot of all of them simultaneously. Long.
I don't use that ring topology now.
It was great 15 years ago, but federation's the way to go. So.
Yeah, 100%.
So when Yeah. No, go ahead. But when I was in Toronto, a lot of people had not gone to VCF yet. There was, like 8 of 10 were not anywhere near VCF, and they were like, "Yeah, we're not there yet." Do you get any feedback from people when you produce the type of content? Do you get questions, or like? I guess the question is, how do you find some people that are willing to go there pretty quickly and others that just shy away and then discover it's easy to do, right?
Yeah, I think most of the commentary I get is, how do I run this up in my lab? And it's a difficult question to answer because not a lot of people got access to it, or they don't have vMugs. So it's not as easy as it used to be, but the questions are typically around the process, and they're usually grateful or thankful that I've put together a video because they don't have access to do it themselves. So they just see the process and be like, oh, it's actually probably not that hard, because I start from bare metal usually and, go through the process or do an existing environment like a customer or someone would, and, do the start to finish picture and then do troubleshooting along the way to make sure, it's realistic. It's not just as easy as click. It's not always going to work that way.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
So. Well, and it doesn't impact running workloads either. It's leaving the ESX hosts alone. And I think people don't understand that all the time.
No, correct. They just look at, sometimes documentation, I wouldn't say it misleads people, but people interpret it differently. So it makes it a bit difficult to understand.
Yep.
No, I don't understand that. Explain that. I don't understand. You can leave ESX a version behind, or what are you saying?
Mm-hmm.
No, so it doesn't reboot the host. It doesn't restart the agent. I mean, it might restart the agents, but that's seamless to the workload running underneath the hood, right? Similar to something like NSX. If you lose the management plane, you don't lose the data plane, so everything still operates. It's not like just because you've lost the head, you're going to lose, or anything that's running on it is going to go dark.
Yeah, it just kind of de-risks it for a lot of organizations. A lot of organizations kind of conflate all of it together, and if I patch and reboot vCenter, like that, people think that that's going to be an outage of all the workloads, and no, and the import process, no, it's just changing the management plane. So
yeah.
So I'm sorry.
No,
You can,
right.
you can run VCF vCenter 9, right, with ESX 8.
Well, you can do that too, but actually what we're thinking about here is the idea that all of your stuff, so you've got this environment set up and converting it into VCF doesn't require reboots of the hosts or anything like that. So all your VMs that are running just continue running, like you've got web servers.
Yeah. Okay. So
all of that stuff.
Right. But I would assume if I was upgrading ESX, right, because when I install, I've just done 12 installs of the stuff, right? But I'm always okay. I start with ESX 9 or 9.1. I go put on a boot ship. Yep. I boot it up. I do the install, and then I build from there. And I just always assumed that if I was upgrading things, that it would require me to do upgrades to the ESX core hypervisor, and that I would end up with a reboot.
Yeah. As part of the lifecycle process, ESX is actually the last thing that gets upgraded. So you do have some leeway between starting the upgrade, so from the fleet all the way down to the hypervisors, NSX, all that sort of stuff, ESX being the last. When you do get to the full patch, as in, so when you're doing the convert or the import, it's not mandating that you do the upgrade as part of that process. So you bring it into VCF Ops as whatever version you've imported it as, and then you lifecycle it at the end. Unless it's a live patch, it does need a reboot, but it does that at the end. And you get that choice. Like, you don't get forced to do this upgrade now, or unless you scheduled it. It will say, okay, now you're up to the ESX hosts. Now you want to patch them, and then it'll sequentially go through the hosts and reboot them. But that's when you select to do so.
Yeah, that's my problem. I don't run production environments at all. And so, it's always home lab, and I always just start from scratch, right? Usually I'm nuking something and reloading it again. One of the other things I heard up in Toronto last week was 9.1 changed something significant in that I didn't have to use vSAN or NSX or some other components that were mandatory. So people were actually saying, oh, thank goodness I can go without and ignore vSAN. Did you guys hear anything about that? or am I just
We've always
mangling
had
that?
support for NFS. I mean, since version 9 and some 5.2-ish upgrades or versions, we've had support for NFS in the workload domain, but in version
Right.
9, sure, and onwards, we've had principal storage. We can use NFS. We can use what's the other one?
Fiber
FCOE, I
channel.
think it was fiber channel. Yep.
Yep.
And VCN. So there are options, and then as part of the convert and import process, there are a couple of checkboxes. If you're not running NSX, for example, in the workload domain, or if you're doing an import, you've got the option to just bring it in as VLAN back transport zone, so it's not mandating that you deploy tunnel endpoints. In the convert process, similar, there's a checkbox. If you pick the checkbox, it either uses VMK0 or the ESX VMK0 management interface for TEPs, or it uses VLAN transport zone.
Yeah, I think, Eric, what you were hearing was about the primary storage for the management domain. It used to be that your management domain of VCF had to be vSAN, and that has been relaxed. You can use fiber channel, you can use NFS now for that stuff.
Okay, so that keeps you out of the mandatory space of needing vSAN in order to get there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of organizations that still haven't seen the light when it comes to vSAN. I like vSAN. I'm a true believer, though. I've liked it for a long time, but yeah, there's a lot of reasons why you might choose fiber channel or any of the other storage technologies that are out there, and they want to do that, and so yeah, as VCF evolves here, it's in some ways it's learning to meet people where they're at.
Yeah, it's making it more flexible. The sticky point was always, I need to buy more hardware, or I need to buy nodes with vSAN, all that sort of stuff. Now you're just getting it in there because you can integrate with what's currently there. We're not asking people to spend more money.
Yeah, buying hardware right now is miserable anyhow.
Yeah.
I just walk through the hallways of the building and I see something I like, I pick it up and
you just take it.
Yeah, take it. Right. I buy hardware. What are you talking about? Like that?
Yeah. I'll give you my shipping address if you want to send me something.
It's not good hardware, Shank. The reason it's sitting there and not, is because it's old and decrepit. It's So be careful what you wish for.
But a lot of people came up to me in Toronto and said, "Hey, I've just got an old workstation on the side. It'll run 9. I got enough memory. I got enough cores on my CPU. I should be able to upgrade that without even buying any new hardware." And so certainly in the home lab environment where we had the mini forms, people are like, "Yeah, we can't afford these anymore. Memory's too expensive for them. They're too custom. They're too unique. I'm just going to put it on a workstation."
Yeah. Out of curiosity, how many people actually were in that VMUG were running minis forums?
Only maybe 5 people came up saying that they had bought them in Minnesota, Minneapolis. There was one guy that came up saying, "I'm selling all mine because I can get a better price on eBay, and I can then just run all this on a workstation." And he had like $10,000. And then we were also showing the GPUs for private AI, and the GPUs for the private in those mini forms are like $4,000 a piece, right? And to do workload migration or do any kind of GPU management through private AI, you're looking at $8,000 just to have some GPUs that work in these mini forms. And so you're total out the door for your home lab with dual node cluster that'll do load balancing of your GPU workloads, just like $20,000 to get get some set up and run. And so, or don't do that, right? So or do it and sell it on eBay and make more money when it goes up again, right?
Yeah, I think GPU is probably the next thing I'm going to have to invest in, because I typically go with the rack mount servers, and I haven't ventured into the GPU world yet.
Yeah, I've been wanting to run some local models. I'm debating what I want to do with that. I really want to see what Apple. I don't know if Apple has announced their new Mac Studios yet or anything, but those have always been pretty compelling. The ability to get 0.5 terabyte of RAM in a box that's little. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a $10,000 box, but given my AI API bills, that might be feasible. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know a lot of people are taking it serious now. That's what we said. Like, only 2 out of 10 in Toronto were really there yet, right? And that was different because I felt like Minneapolis, there were more people that were, adopting. Like I felt like it was a 40% rate, but I think certain geographies are just where they're at, right? And yeah, have to.
And the other
have to
thing
go with
about
that.
test environments too is that especially in corporate environments, a lot of corporations would benefit, I think, from budgeting for a test environment, a real test environment that's
100%.
like their production environments. And a lot of places don't do it, or they use really old hardware, and it's like, But so encouraging people to actually budget for it as part of their environment is one thing. But I also remind people all the time that you can run this stuff nested. You can run. Look at our hands-on labs, for example. That's all VCF that's nested, and you can deploy ESX nested. You can deploy vCenter nested. Well, it's just another VM, and you can deploy VCF operations as another VM, that sort of thing. And so you create yourself a separate VLAN, and away you go, right? And so you can actually build some familiarity with things there. For lifecycle stuff, maybe not. Deep hardware things, you're not going to test confidential computing that way or anything. But just being able to understand what happens when you turn on native key provider, for example, that's a way to do that.
So we always ask guests, like, what do you think your next topic is going to be that interests you?
I am probably going to break apart the new networking because that's just generally what I like. How edgeless BGP or edgeless VPCs works. I know there's been a couple of blogs, but I've been asked a few times, and also people have been asking for some start to finish on VKS and VPCs, that sort of stuff. It's probably where it's going to land. Aside from infrastructural VCF type stuff that I'll end up doing, I'll do some DR testing, failover testing, and show people how that all works as well.
Yeah, that's something. The VPCs are something I really want to get into. There's some really interesting things going on there. And I'm not really an NSX guy, like I'm not afraid of networking, but all that stuff has always been something I've managed to avoid. VLANs have been fine for me for so long, but there's so much benefit to having the software defined networking and vDefend and all that stuff. And so,
I know that there have been, people commenting to me that we're getting closer to Cisco now, and that how much NSX are we doing, or are we, engaging with Cisco more tightly, right? And be interesting to see. I've never been able to get my head around, the complicated network. VLANs are fine for me as well.
Yeah, it's sort of. We're doing a lot, but we're integrating with Arista. We're integrating a VPN with different vendors. It depends on what you consider doing stuff like Cisco, but there's a lot of pieces of work that I've done where we've got to integrate with something like ACI and all that sort of stuff. So it's a networking piece, right? At the end of the day, we talk routing protocols and we have to communicate or advertise routes. That's as simple as it gets. And we need to be able to get in and out of NSX or the environment. And to do that, we're agnostic. We don't really care what the vendor is upstream.
Yeah. You mentioned EVPN. That's new in 9.1 here.
Yeah.
And I'm not that familiar with it. Can you shed some light? Like, what would you tell a new guy like me? What is, is that what's the E? I understand VPN. What's the E in EVPN?
It's effectively a way for, let's say people have got networking fabric, but they're running remote sites. They're running layer 3 boundaries or layer 2, whatever it may be. Okay. Effectively, they can use EVPN to extend those networks to on-prem, off-prem, other sites, and control that networking through the physical and or NSX fabric. And then you can speak VNIs and that sort of stuff directly through the hypervisor into the physical fabric.
That's interesting. Yeah. So it's just more overlay networks, basically, like just different style of doing that. Okay.
Yeah, like BGP EVPN has existed in physical networks for a very long time, and that's how typically you would extend a layer 2 broadcast domain without extending a layer 2 broadcast domain traditionally, like stretching a layer 2 VLAN, because that's dangerous.
Yeah. Interesting. So a lot of eVPN being adopted by organizations, or still new?
I haven't seen a lot. I've got probably one customer that has tested and maybe is still doing it.
Okay.
Because we've also got solutions that we can do cross-site, like federation and all that sort of stuff too, right? Where we're not really reliant on physical fabric or integrating eVPN with anything in the physical fabric. All we need is two sites to be able to route to each other with a port open, and then we can stretch our networks through NSX federation. Okay. And I've used NSX federation since version 3, so I'm a huge fan of it. But I also have a handful of customers running that, so it's not a huge uptake, but it's a good solution as well for if you're running, for example, the new topologies or even existing topologies where we've got single fleet multi VCF instance. Perfect candidate for NSX federation, unless you're providing that in the physical fabric.
Interesting. So is eVPN then just kind of like a multi-vendor standard version of NSX federation then? Cool.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, it provides the functionality. The only thing that you get more with NSX federation is the fact that you can also sync policy and objects across instances.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really cool. Actually, have the policy follow the workloads around and things. So
yeah, so I mean, you can define policy once and have it in 16 local managers or up to 16 local managers or NSX sites.
Very cool.
Shank, what country do you work in?
Sorry, mate?
What country are you out of?
I'm in Australia.
Australia. All right. Yeah. So must be super early in the morning or reasonably early?
Yeah, I work at 4:30 for you guys.
Ah, nice.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I was just looking. I'm like, it's kind of early.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't want to say it.
Good this morning. Yeah, properly caffeinated. So.
I'll be asleep by 2:00.
Yeah. I felt bad because I had to get up at 6 and get ready, get to work today early because we had a 8 a.m. meeting, and I was like, okay, but this is a whole nother level. Whole nother level.
Lucky this is not an official meeting. It's more relaxed and chill. It's not driving into the office and debating a topic or whatever it may be.
Yeah, we like to keep it easy going here. Not grill you too much.
What city? Brisbane. Sorry, missed that.
I'm in Canberra.
Canberra. Okay. All right. Yeah.
So I've got a question for you. The thinking back to the VCF import thing and upgrading to VCF and things like that. What do you think the biggest sticking point for people is? What do you think where do people get caught?
For the import or the convert? Because there's
the convert, I guess.
Okay. So. I think so for the longest time, it was always the resources, what actually gets deployed as part of this convert process. And I mean, we did like I was saying earlier, we did an MVP, and I think as part of my video, I put together a very bare minimal, and I was for version 9. So it's a bit different for 9.1 with the BMSP stuff that gets deployed. I think it's going to be the resources and what's required from hypervisor or memory CPU capacity sort of planning level, but that was probably the biggest thing. But once you get your head around that, the process itself is not too difficult.
Yeah, don't mind my video. So yeah, if you just caught it, my camera is telling me it's too hot. So yeah, no. Yeah. Okay. So resources. The increased resources, but I mean, even just for vSphere. You need operations. Operations is not the smallest thing that's there, but So
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what you do for the convert process is you check a couple of boxes. You either have or want to deploy automation as part of it. You select if you've got operations or not, and if you do, you'd have to pre-upgrade all that sort of stuff. You select an existing vCenter. You say whether or not you've got NSX, you put in the FQDNs, it does its validation, and then you import or convert that stuff. And as part of the process, depending on what you haven't checked or have checked, it either deploys or doesn't deploy those appliances.
Yeah. FQDNs, your mention of that's another big thing. vSphere never really cared too much about reverse DNS and all of that stuff.
Yep.
And PTR records. VCF cares deeply about those things, you know, and so yeah, that's where I've seen a bunch of folks get stuck there too. All of a sudden or they discover, well, actually the couple of instances I'm thinking of are people discovering that things changed in their environment without their knowledge. And they don't have any reverse DNS. I'm actually thinking about one where a security team deleted all the reverse DNS entries because hiding things is secure, right? So
yeah, I also found one more thing that was interesting, and I mean, depending on what you choose to do, the VCF installer is what you use to convert or import, and then mostly convert in this case that we're talking about, convert an environment. And depending on where it sits and what you select, that VCF installer gets converted into SDC Manager as part of the process of this, convert or building a management domain. Now, if you do that, I got stuck, and this is in my video, where I wasn't reading. You've done this many times, and you just autopilot. So in the OVF parameters, and which gets deployed as part of the VM, the host name, I actually made it a short name as opposed to an FQDN. So it actually broke as part of the convert process because it's looking for FQDN. So that's one of the warnings or the errors that come up, and it's looking for that manager. So you have to go into the CLI and just update that. Quick and easy fix, but it's just a gotcha that keeps getting me every time I deploy this thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. The well, and I know what you mean about going through it or whatever. Like, yeah, you've done it enough times that it's just sort of rote memory at this point, and so watching that. What else should people watch for? Resources, FQDNs.
Yeah, I definitely read. Don't do what I do and just skip through and pretend you know everything, because something will get you out, and then you're just wasting time going around in circles trying to fix it. What else? For 9.1, if you're doing the convert, just do some IP space planning. Look at the documents, because there are some requirements for that new services runtime cluster that need to be met. If you can't meet them, then we need to plan around it.
And to be clear, can I explain that a little bit? So 9.1 has got the services platform, the VMware services platform, VSP, VMSP management services platform, where it's Kubernetes underneath the hood, and basically it's deploying VMs that have containers in them, and that there's some reasons for that right now, but largely upgrade stuff. But it's meant to be invisible. Is it invisible? No infrastructure, to us at least, is ever invisible, but to your point, it's present insofar as it's going to consume resources. Like the license server, for example, is deployed that way, and is going to consume some resources. And so, that's important.
Yeah. And then the contiguous IP block. So the /27 that you require, you need to plan for that. Yeah. Some new FQDNs are required that need to be outside of this block. So you just make sure you've got enough space for that. Not a huge deal.
So like in my environment, basically I've got, I've got it, like you said, a /27 you can give it, or whatever, depending on how you're configured, it'll prompt you for a range there.
Yeah.
So, but no, that's good points. Cool.
Nice. Yeah. So next question for you, Shank. Any paper submissions to go to explore? Do they let you get out of Australia?
No, I haven't submitted anything. To be honest, I haven't tried. We did Sydney Explore here last year
on tour. Yeah.
Sydney, Explore on tour. Sorry, and I believe we're having another one in the future, so maybe there.
Nice.
Good. Yeah, I expect so. I expect they are going to do that. Yeah.
See, I think, Eric, instead of having him come to us, we should go to him. I've actually never been to Australia, so
it's one of the. I've been to Brisbane. Been up and down the Gold Coast. So did surfing on the beaches up there, and it's
nice.
It's beautiful country. I think it's one of the prettiest countries, and one that I never really considered ever moving to another country. I go to Europe; it's interesting and fun, but I always am happy to come back home. When I went to Australia, I was like, oh, I could be here, right? Like this. Very balmy along the Gold Coast, right? Rolling hills, warm, beautiful beaches, nice waves, good surf
all the
action.
Animals trying to eat you. And
and a lot of corporate environment, right? Like that's why corporate IT is a big thing. It's a big country, and they got a lot of big businesses. They got enterprise, no question about that. So it's, yeah, we should go there. We should definitely go
I
there.
agree. I think we need a field
Yeah,
trip.
we'll add that on my list of need to do before I leave. Right, get there. Yeah, I don't know if I got anything else, Bob. I'm trying to think what else we could.
No, this is cool.
could
You know,
chat
I
about.
just- I think building some experience with this and the community talking about this sort of thing, that it's not that scary. It's, you know, there's some approaches talking about gotchas. I really appreciate this. So I'm sorry, Eric, you were saying.
I always worry about hardware budgets, right? You know, and then and you know, where will it fit in my footprint? And I hear things and I go, I don't know. But I'm a home lab guy. I'm not an enterprise management guy. Shank, we always ask people, what are you most looking forward to for the rest of the year? We're almost halfway done with, believe it or not quite halfway done with 2026, but are there any interesting technologies or trends that you're actually looking forward to?
I'm keen to see how, I mean, this AI stuff is booming at the moment, right? Everyone's talking about it. The fact that one of the things that doesn't really get talked about is how it integrates with the rest of our platform. And, you know, people are focusing on the AI side of things, but I want to see how that further integration with our system and how we work SDN around it and all that sort of stuff, how it all looks together, painting a bigger picture, because I know a lot of people have their own niches, but I like to just stitch it all together and show people a full breadth of what we can do.
Yeah, and that's got a lot of value too. You know, how do you run, you know, running AI? I mean, we all were talking, and I was referring to, you know, earlier that the apocalypse that is AI around security or whatever, but people that want to integrate this stuff, you know, and they're discovering that, hey, I want to run this stuff on premises. I want to have more control over it, you know, and we talk a good game about exactly what you're saying, you know, like that it all works together and that, but having somebody actually show it, you know, and show that all this stuff can be secured, you know, especially I was reading something this morning about the need to contain AI. It's very Terminator-like, you know, contain it. These things get minds of their own and start doing things or whatever, you know, not just protecting it from the outside, but keeping it from breaking out like a zoo, you know, and, you know, and that's important too. And so, yeah, no, I look forward to you doing more in that regard. So,
I think one of the things that I saw, because I've been reviewing session papers, and there were quite a few number of good AI session papers now coming in on code and in community talks. And one of the ones was just how do you manage agentic systems now, or agentic software, and how do you control what you're willing to let agents get access to, right? And there's certainly a big IT component to that, right? Which is, you know, if you're gonna set up an MCP environment so that, you know, you can have APIs, you know, letting your AI, you know, talk to your vSphere through an MCP engine. How do you manage that? How do you secure it? How do you role-based access control it so that you get some, and one of the papers described the enterprise mess at one of our big customers. He was a big customer, and then what they were experiencing at, you know, a big bank, right? And that much the way organizations grabbed vSphere or VMware in the early days and spun up their own VMs, and, you know, you had a VM sprawl. They're seeing AI agentic systems sprawl where individuals are doing it on the corporate network. So it's an interesting topic for me to watch some of this. What is going to go wrong, right? And then how to manage it, right? Yeah.
Well, MCP servers in general scare me quite a bit because, you know, it's just basically instructions to a model, you know, like MCP server that's giving you the weather could just turn around and say, hey, delete all your data, you know. And it's just like, oh, okay, you know, like, and so it's the amount of trust in modern systems is unwarranted, I'll put it that way. And so, and we're seeing that right now with the NPM, all the supply chain attacks, the Node.js stuff, and so at any rate.
Yeah, no, it is true. That is so. Yeah, certainly waiting for that. I don't know. You know, when I'm at VMUG Connects and you know, and I'm doing the Do Labs, Bob was with me in Minneapolis, and not that many people were very interested in using vSphere and our product set to manage AI systems, right? Like it wasn't like everybody was like, oh, I can't wait to learn about this. It was kind of like they were curious, but they weren't ready for anything in their world, right?
Yeah. But at the
So-
same time, you've got big organizations or larger organizations that are realizing that the cloud. There's some security organizations that have been doing that I follow that have been integrating AI into their detection and response workflows and things like that to automate a lot of that. And they've concluded that they can't trust the cloud, and for a variety of reasons. And so they're bringing it back. I know of one that just bought a pile of 8 GPU, H200s or whatever the big NVIDIA crossbar switch things are, 8 GPUs in it and that, $300,000 worth of hardware right there, but over the next 5 years, being able to run your model, being able to take something that's somewhat non-deterministic and turn it into more deterministic, more predictable things, and being able to rely on it is going to be important. So
yeah, makes sense. Tony Foster, because you do a lot of GPU work and GPU automation, are you seeing this bubble up in your view of the world?
I am definitely seeing this bubble up in my view of the world. And it's very interesting to see how it bubbles up in different areas, because in the VDI space, everybody's excited about it. In the hardware space, everybody's like, what's going to happen here? We need this stuff on-prem because we don't dare want this handling our corporate information in the cloud. And then from the enterprise perspective, it's how do we actually deal with all of this? There's so much going on.
Yeah.
So,
but they don't want to say
yes.
no to it because it's a force multiplier for people and productivity. So how do you do it? How do you not say no to it? But you got to put some guardrails around it. That's
absolutely, yes. Absolutely. I know one of the big things that we're being asked to do here at Dell is use AI as much as possible. Use it, figure out how you can make yourself more productive. And that's one of the big asks that we've been tasked with, is using AI to make what we do more productive and more efficient.
And it takes a while to figure that out.
It does.
It's basically like you're a team lead and all of your team is computers, but yeah, it takes a little bit to figure that out. So
it does.
It's also interesting. It's also interesting because I would say that the message we get back is don't use AI unless you absolutely have approval and everybody's reviewed what you're going to use it for and how you're going to use it, and the results of it get reviewed 3 more times before you ever use anything that AI makes. Because we're
some of
very
that
worried.
Intellectual property concerns too,
Right.
AI.
Absolutely, yes.
There's a lot of interesting stuff around that. I'll just leave it at that. So.
Yes, there absolutely is. I'm just going to call it out because AI stuff isn't copyrightable. You can't trademark or copyright AI created content. So yes, there's a huge concern around that in enterprises. How do we deal with this? Is that a huge concern for different classes of what we're producing? So absolutely.
All right. So Shank, back to you. Final statements on anything else that what scares you for the rest of the year?
Probably waking up at 4 a.m. again a few more times.
Yeah.
We'll try to avoid that.
Yeah. We appreciate it. We appreciate you coming on, and we appreciate you writing the article or doing the video. I guess it wasn't an article, it was a video, but you trended and people liked it. And I usually have the click count on how many people clicked on your content on advocacy.broadcom.com, which is where it ended up, I think. And we got a report saying, here's the top trending content, and your content trended, so that's why you ended up here, right? Or we sent an invite. So if you don't want to wake up early in the morning, just do much lower quality content. That's right.
We could
now but so nothing else concerns you for 2026. Everything is going to be great, and you can't wait to see how AI turns out.
I think just falling behind the tech wave, right? If you're not keeping up to date, you're always falling behind. So it's a constant learning loop.
I kind of regret that I didn't learn networking, because when you were just talking about the networking stuff, and I could only understand about 1 out of 10 words that you were talking to Bob about, I'm just like, damn, I should have spent 20 years ago. I should have really stayed on top of it. When
it's one of those things. It's hard to be across everything. So just pick your way.
Yeah, it is. That is the fear.
Yeah, and that's some of the problem now too with VCF having all this stuff in it. In Minneapolis, some folks were saying that, who owns NSX? Who owns this stuff in a, the VCF admins are a little scared of it because they don't want to necessarily own it, but it looks really cool, and so figuring that out. I think that's actually another area that you help a lot in, if you're doing videos, if you're going to do videos about the networking and things like that, and kind of take that stuff apart. I think that helps build familiarity and sets people at ease that the stuff isn't too crazy, that maybe you can own it. Maybe you can, you and the network team can figure it out, that sort of thing. So,
yeah. And that's typically, anytime we go through design phases and all that, RBAC and controls and responsibilities, it's always a part of the conversation, right? So
yeah,
it just depends on how that lands, but typically networks want to be in charge of networks and the VI admins take care of the VMs. So
yeah, and never the two shall meet, right? So
yeah.
All right, so we're top of the hour. We got a little bit of a late start, so maybe we'll run a few more minutes into it, but we all have other things to get to. So just to shout out, your website is www.lab2prod, lab2prod.com. .au, right? Yes, got to add that on. So www.lab2prod.com.au, and go check it out. That's always good. Are you on Twitter or any other social channel that people should follow?
Just LinkedIn, YouTube. I used to be on Twitter, but it's too many to manage.
Yeah, there you go. Everybody's on LinkedIn. Good old Microsoft these days. They grabbed us for the corporate world. Okay, so that's good. And then finally, barbecue report, because we stream on youtube.com/vbarbecue, VBARBECUE. You can go watch the videos. We post all the video streams that we do. Most of you are on audio, but we are on camera. You can go see what everybody looks like. Go to youtube.com/vbarbecue. Check us out. And we always ask, what kind of barbecue do you do? Do you do barbecue? Do you like barbecue? Do you have a favorite barbecue restaurant?
You're going to roast something over a flame.
Yeah. What would it be?
Yeah. Probably a good steak.
Nice.
And some wings.
So, yeah.
Nice. At VMUG last week, they had allocated food budget for the whole event, and I think they didn't consume all the food they were supposed to. So for the party, they had like literally a half a cow, like a side of a cow, like and they were just carving on it, right? And it was amazing, right? And I don't think it was like smoked or anything. It was just cooked in an oven, but they were cutting off meat, and it was the biggest piece of meat I've ever seen. I think it was 4 foot by 4 foot big piece of some part of the cow. Must have been rump, thigh, and yeah. You
didn't happen to get a picture of that, did you?
I did not, and I should have. I should have just taken a picture of it, because the middle of it was pretty bloody, right? Like I felt like if you were a lion or tiger, you just like to just jump in and grab a piece of that.
In there.
Yeah, it was pretty rare in the middle of it. And I don't think that was by intention. I think somebody didn't. It's hard to cook the inside of a big, massive piece of cow like that.
Absolutely torching
without torching the outside. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And other than that, I was out of town, so I didn't do any barbecue. And Bob, I don't know if you got a chance. It's summer pretty soon.
Yeah, I've got a pair of pork butts hit Costco yesterday, and I've got some pork butts in the fridge right now, and we're going to set those up for, I don't know, I haven't decided. Probably the weekend here. We're going into Memorial Day weekend here in the U.S., and so long.
Is this the Memorial Day weekend? Do we have a day off?
Yeah.
Do we have Monday off, or what? What day do we have? We have Monday. I didn't even know.
Yes.
Did not even know that.
Reciprocity to other people, so you should have Monday off too.
Yeah.
But yeah. The but yeah, we have Monday off as Memorial Day, and so yeah,
I do have to
Go ahead.
do a shout out to one of the V community members did a prime rib on a charcoal grill, and it looked fantastic. It was probably a foot long by 8 inches tall or something, but charred, and then he just sliced it pink inside like prime rib. I've never seen barbecued prime rib before, but I'm trying to look up his name while I'm talking to just give him a shout out. But I liked it on Facebook. He was a Facebook friend, and he, from the ecosystem. And wow, talk about amazing!
That sounds amazing.
Amazing photo. I can get his name.
Cody
Cody DeArklin.
Oh,
So,
yeah, Cody.
yeah. He barbecues a lot, and oh man, talk about a nice piece of meat. That was crazy.
Cool. Well, Mike.
All right. Well, we gotta let Bob get back on ice, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're gonna put Bob on ice.
Yeah.
And
this view makes me prettier anyhow.
yeah. And so thanks a lot, Shank, for coming on and getting up at 4 a.m. Appreciate it, and sharing the knowledge that you've learned, and being a great tech resource for the ecosystem. So appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. All right, we'll be back again next week. Until then, it's going to be Labor Day weekend, right? Or is it Memorial Day? Memorial Day weekend. Get your flags out, put them outside, and do some barbecue, get some food. Yeah, that's right. All right, have a great one.
Guys.
See you guys.
See you guys.